come on in, pull up a chair and take a load off, because today I'm going to share my review of Pathfinder Dreamers of the Nameless Spires from Paizo Inc. Does this third and final chapter make for a satisfying conclusion to the Gatewalkers adventure path? Or should you be dreaming of other Pathfinder APs rather than this one? Well, you're going to find out right after this. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. As I mentioned in the open, today I am going to share my review of Pathfinder Dreamers of the Nameless Spires from Paizo Inc. This is the finale to the Gatewalkers adventure path. It is written by James Jacobs, and this 92-page adventure is available as a soft cover for an MSRP of $26.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $19.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Dreamers of the Nameless Spires. A few things I do want to mention before I dive on in. First off, the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. Also, we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for what's in this finale of the Gatewalkers adventure path. And I just said it's an adventure. So lastly, as much as I'm going to try to stay away from major spoilers, there are going to be spoilers. There's no way around it. So if you are a player and your game master is running Gatewalkers, or you're hoping that they're going to run Gatewalkers, then I would definitely recommend tune out now. You don't want the surprises in this chapter to be ruined simply because you watched this review. Now, having said that, you may want to tell your game master about this video so that they can make an informed buying decision regarding Dreamers of the Nameless Spires. All right, let's dive on in. So, quite a few artists involved in this project right here. I'm not going to read through all of them or any of them actually, because I'm sure I'd butcher the vast majority of their names. But I do want to say, for the most part, really, really solid artwork throughout. There was a piece here or there that was kind of like, eh. But the rest, really nice, really nicely done. So if you have been following my reviews for this adventure path, you know that I wasn't super thrilled with the first two chapters, especially the second. Now, I didn't say they were bad. They didn't get negative reviews, but the second chapter especially, I really didn't appreciate the fact that the player characters are kind of shackled with this NPC who's running the show. Everything is driven in that second chapter by this important NPC. And yes, the NPC's quest does coincide with the player characters. But it felt too much like the player characters were guest starring in that chapter. Thankfully, that is not the case here. So the important NPC, Snowy Owl is what they're known as now, is actually transporting the avatar of a god, or she is essentially the avatar of a god that is going to be utilized to try to defeat the big bad. And the big bad is this kind of strange cosmic whale. I know, kind of gonzo, but I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty well done. So what's going to happen here is the first part of the third chapter. The player characters are going to return to their patron, who just happens to be Professor Edward Riddleton. I almost said Riddleton, it's Riddleson, who has been helping them throughout the entire adventure path, because the player characters, as well as Edward and hundreds, if not thousands, of other people on the world of Golarion, find themselves with what's known as the missing moment. So at this one point, these elven gates opened up and all these people walked through. They had no control over themselves. They just walked through these gates and disappeared. And some were gone for a few hours, some were gone for a few days, and some have not returned. And the player characters all happen to have taken part in this missing moment, and they have no memory of what took place while they were gone. And of course, the same thing with the professor. But it turns out the professor knows a bit more than they've been letting on. So it turns out that the professor is a baddie. And I know that's a trope that we run across quite a bit in fantasy role-playing games. But what I would really play up is not necessarily that the player characters are being betrayed by this professor, but the fact that during this missing moment, the player characters performed bad things. I would really, really focus more on that, because that's not something that we encounter a lot in fantasy role-playing games. So in the first portion of this adventure, you're looking at the player characters return to the mansion of the professor. Professor's not there, and hopefully the player characters will kind of nose around, and that's when they're going to find that all along they have been pawns of this evil professor. Now, it's possible that the player characters will have a final confrontation with the professor at his laboratory, which actually has some pretty cool set pieces to it and very interesting things that are going to lead the player characters to the final steps in order to not only defeat the big bad, but also to assist Snowy Owl with finishing her quest, which actually has to do with defeating the big bad, that gonzo cosmic whale. Now, if the player characters do not have a final confrontation with the professor in the first portion of Dreamers of the Nameless Spires, then it will take place in the second part. And the second part, the player characters are going to find that they need to travel to the far north, the frozen north. In fact, they have to go to the North Pole of Golarion in order to attempt to defeat the cosmic whale. And if I were running this, what I would definitely recommend is to check out, if you haven't already, if you haven't seen either of these, check out either The Terror, which was a limited series on AMC, or there's a film called Shackleton, which stars Kenneth Branagh as Ernest Shackleton. And both of those stories, one's true, one's based on a true story, but it's fictional. It's about these crews of these British ships that are trapped in the Arctic because they're exploring, and they basically get iced in. And I would definitely take some of the moments from either the limited series or the movie, which, if I remember correctly, I think that was a 2-part miniseries, actually. And I really think your players will certainly appreciate that, because not only are there some encounters that are pretty cool in the middle portion, but especially if they've already had that final confrontation with the professor, I think that including these wilderness or Arctic survival moments will really up the ante. So then the final chapter is the big confrontation with Soyo, who is that cosmic whale. In fact, there we go, right there. And the player characters are going to assist Snowy Owl as she releases that god that she's been carrying into another creature. And they're looking to, once again, trap Soyo so that he can no longer do any harm. Now, one of the things that is going on is there's this black frost, which is kind of exhaled by this cosmic whale. And it's actually kind of interesting because it kills people, and it essentially makes it look like they've died from frostbite, but then they come back. So they're like these icy undead. So pretty interesting there as well. And then what had happened during the missing moment is that the player characters actually got these powers, these kind of strange, dark powers that they can utilize. And one of the decisions that they need to make at the end of the adventure is, do they retain these or do they give them up? Because they didn't originally have these dark powers. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, because it provides a bit of a conundrum for the player characters, because they don't realize that if they don't give up these powers, then yes, they've defeated the cosmic whale, but they haven't trapped it and locked it away. So it's there's always a chance he can return. So I actually like that quite a lot. So then we've got our adventure toolbox. We've got some other information if you want to continue the campaign. So of course we've got new creatures, new spells, new items, and I love how we've got the Elder Thing, which is from H.P. Lovecraft. It's from At the Mountains of Madness. And I love how we've got the Elder Things included with this, although I have to admit, they give the Elder Thing a power that, as far as I understand, they did not have. They don't have it in Call of Cthulhu. They didn't have it in At the Mountains of Madness, and that is the ability for them to just travel through space whenever they want. That's kind of a Mego thing, that they don't need a spaceship or anything like that. They just can travel through space. And once again, that's not something I recall the Elder Things being able to do, but certainly the Mego can. So I had to chuckle a little bit because I think someone gave the Elder Things some additional powers that they don't have in the Lovecraft story. And then we get our corrupted victim. So this is actually who that God is going to join with in order to defeat the cosmic whale. So, and interestingly enough, the player characters actually kidnapped this creature during that missing moment. So, funny enough, the player characters are actually the reason why this creature is being held captive by the cosmic whale, but then they're also the reason why he's freed. So I like that too. All right, and then we've got our big bad. Well, he's not our big bad. He's our bad. Or he's our big bad. But the cosmic whale is our big baddie. And that's going to be it for this adventure. So let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share my final thoughts and give Pathfinder Dreamers of the Nameless Spires, a review score. I gotta say, I really liked this finale far more than I did the second chapter of this adventure path. I like the first one. It's not that I dislike the second. What I don't like about it is where the player characters become kind of guest stars in their own adventure. Thankfully, that is no longer the case. Now, granted, Snowy Owl is still traveling with them. Snowy Owl is still looking to complete her quest. But the player characters, they should, at least your players, will feel that they have far more agency in this finale than they did in the previous chapter. So I like that a lot. There are a lot of cool encounters, very interesting set pieces. I like the fact that during the finale of the final confrontation with the cosmic whale, that the players have to decide, are their characters going to give up these strange dark powers that they've received? And they should all have different powers. They're not all the same. Or are they going to hold on to them? Not knowing that there is going to be a penalty, at least as far as trapping the cosmic whale, if they don't give up those powers. So I like that little conundrum at the end as well. So all in all, I think that the finale to Gatewalkers is pretty interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. I've already talked during the first 2 chapters reviews what I would probably tweak. Make those tweaks, and you can pretty much run with this finale pretty much as written. And I'm pretty sure that you as a game master, as well as your players, are going to have a pretty damn good time. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Pathfinder Dreamers of the Nameless Spires an 8 out of 10. Definitely do recommend it. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also tell you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, currently Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings. All right. Well, once again, thank you for joining me, and until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.